There were a lot of comments in that box from women who are still within network marketing companies saying basically like, I'm so scared to leave because, you know, I'm scared I won't be able to make money somewhere else. And, you know, I just like, I don't know what to expect on the other side. And a couple of things that I would suggest. Number one, like when I first started BODi, my husband is just he's such a good steward of our finances. And he said to me, he was like, if you're going to do this, he said, I want us to open up a business account at our bank. And I want you to track your revenue and your losses. Because I think like something that's not talked about in these companies much is the expenses of running this business. You know, even when people are sharing their incomes, a lot of times, number one, well, not even a lot of times, all the time, that's pre-tax. So that's before taxes are taken out. And number two, that does not even begin to is like, there are trips, and yes, they look fun. They look fun, right? You just saw a ton of people probably go on conference. Maybe you just went to conference. You spend a lot of money on those things between airfare, hotels, like none of it's paid for. And I think that's something that again is just like not talked about. Is like you assume companies are paying for these things, but the reality is like that cost goes back on the partner because they are a 1099 contractor. They're not employees of this company. They are independent contractors. So you spend a lot of money on your own business, and the whole narrative of like, you got to spend money to make money. You're going to hear that over and over. And so I think like for me, at least, it was really helpful to know how much money I was making and how much money I was spending. And we did quarterly taxes, and that also really helped to see like, okay, well, you know, are these things paying off in your business? Like how much are you making? I would definitely tell you, start tracking your expenses and your actual profits after tax. The other thing I was going to say is check out your company's income disclosure statement, because this is the other part of that. I did not spend a lot of time looking at this kind of stuff. And I will be completely transparent with you. The very first time that I even realized like this was not a fair game was I actually saw a content piece from Julie, oh my gosh, what's her last name? Julie Anderson. She had shared, it was basically like, it was Monet, I can't remember now. I'll have to see if I can find this content. But it was basically, it showed the top earners. It showed what percentage of their income came from personal sales. So like what they actually were doing to build their business versus what their team was doing to build their income. I literally almost threw up because I started to realize like it didn't matter how hard I worked.
This is how much the top of the pyramid in Mon8 made last year per month. And you're going to see, this is just so gross. Here's their personal sales, their commission from personal sales versus the commission from their downline. This is what happens when you're at the top of the pyramid. And I remember when I was in Mon8, I thought that if I was just consistent enough and I use the products every day and I post them in my stories every day, I'm using them every day, so I might as well post them and talk about them every day, that if I just kept at it long enough that you too will rise to the top and earn all this money, right? Well, and this person, actually, I was a part of their team group, the ultimate, because they're like the mega hun of Mon8. So they would have these challenges and they would say things like, only serious players are going to run with us. And they would give you all these challenges and like tasks, like prospecting people and do a video about, you know, the
people who win are the people who recruit. And I wasn't willing to do that. Like I was not, I mean, again, like, yes, I was making full-time income, and anytime I would bring up concerns about the amount I was making, people would say like, well, you know, you're ungrateful, or you're negative, or, you know, you're a complainer. Like you weren't allowed to question the system. That is the biggest issue. And that's, again, why a lot of people, you know, really get hung up on this whole, like, it's a cult. But it's because the information control is just, like, insane. And, like, if you speak out or ask questions, like, you are labeled as being negative. And, I mean, again, this is why I was an island by myself in BODi. Like, no one would work with me. And in a lot of ways, I understood it because I am one who, I just ask lots of questions, and I want to understand why things are the way they are. And I want things to be fair. And I will say, like, that's something I haven't spoken about in this whole thing, because I just feel like every time I think about bringing this up, I'm like, gosh, Katie, just like, don't say it. Like, just stay positive and like keep this about you. But like the toxic culture within multi-level marketing companies, I can only speak about my experience, but it was just like the mean girls. It felt like high school. And I feel like for me, like as lonely as I am some days, you know, after all this, because it's so quiet, I will be honest, it feels less lonely than being in a crowded room and still feeling isolated. Like, I never felt accepted, and that was really hard for me, because I wanted to be there to change lives, but I couldn't change the system. And no matter how much I tried, no matter how much I spoke out, no matter who I told, like, you know, I think in a lot of ways, the more I spoke out, the more isolated I became. And yeah, it just, I wish I could tell you more, but I just feel like I'm trying to maintain like some composure and, you know, do this gracefully as I can. Like, again, protecting you while still like protecting myself in a lot of ways, because every time I speak out, I get such mean messages, and I just feel like it's hard, because you feel like you were doing it differently, even if you feel, you know, like you're taking accountability and you're working through all that shame yourself, like it is still hard on the other side. But I keep telling my kids I would rather stand alone in my truth than I would to be surrounded by a bunch of people who are just an echo chamber of all the things that are wrong with the system. So right now I'm just standing alone.
Hello and welcome to She's on the Monet. We are deep diving at the moment on my social media into multi-level marketing companies, and specifically Monet. So I thought, if you've missed a few things, I'll catch you up. And I have taken the time to put it all on a whiteboard so that we can get on the same page at the same time. So are you ready? Welcome to She's on the Monet. It was founded in 2014 by a guy who has significant experience in multi-level marketing and network marketing businesses, but no experience in the wellness, hair care, and skincare space, albeit that is what his business focuses on. The only difference when it comes to a multi-level marketing company or network marketing and a pyramid scheme, my friend, is that there is a product involved. How does that work? Well, my friend, I'm glad you asked. It looks like this. The queen bee sits at the top, and they are the ones that make the most money. They make money because the money flows this.
I had a friend ask me to look into the numbers for Arbonne today, and I was shocked. So shocked, in fact, that I couldn't keep the conversation just between her and I. So I'm going to share it with you guys right here, right now. Hi, my name's Sarah. I am your upline's worst nightmare. Why? Because I was in the MLM space for over 5 years. I was gaslit, I was lied to, I was manipulated, and now I run a YouTube channel and post videos on TikTok so that you guys don't make the same mistakes I did. Let's look into Arbonne. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you already know it takes me not very long to figure out if reps are making actual money within multi-level marketing companies, and this one was no exception. I was able to figure out in less than 2 minutes that over 95% of the reps in Arbonne are actually losing money. Let's break it down. So according to Arbonne's
when I saw this comment, because Russell and I always joke that like when I do spend money, it's like gas, food consignment store, gas, food consignment store. I still love a good consignment shop. But yeah, I mean, it is definitely a funny comment, but there's also a lot of truth to, you know, multi-level marketing companies and the people who are in them. I think in a lot of ways they attempt to duplicate what they are seeing as a success, right? And so like they see their uplines, they see these people at the top and they say, oh, well, she's wearing clothes like this and she's shopping like that and she has this work done and she got the extensions and the eyelashes and, you know, and all of a sudden it's like everyone starts looking a lot alike. And it was like a very strange thing because, you know, there was this curated life they were showing on social media. Like it's not what it seems. And that's the dangerous part of this type of business is, you know, you're seeing a curated version of the life they have. But again, this is where I go back to check out the income disclosure statements and the available records that you can find on your company and how much money people are actually making, because it would truly shock you. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer more questions about income, but I also know it's a pretty sensitive subject for some people. I just feel like, again, this is kind of like the part of like, I don't know, I feel like the money part is like the gross part of this kind of model because there's so much deception that happens because so many people have that belief of like fake it till you make it, and it is a dangerous narrative for sure.
Technique called the thought terminating cliche, and this is something where once you understand what it is, you won't be able to unhear it, and it shows up in a lot of really destructive cults where it's this sort of stock expression that's easily memorized, easily repeated, and aimed at shutting down any type of pushback or questioning. This phrase was coined in the early 1960s by a psychologist named Robert J. Lifton. Whenever anybody, you know, would clock a red flag or experience some cognitive dissonance, you know, I really want to believe in this group, but I feel like something is amiss and I want to be able to talk about that. One of these zingy expressions will be served to you by someone with power in that group to shut you down and end the conversation and allow that person to remain in power. So in QAnon, for example, a thought terminating cliche might sound like, well, you need to do your research, or dismissing valid concerns about COVID by saying, don't let yourself be ruled by fear. That's a limiting belief. Who learned Pig Latin?